Located at Gold Reef City Park in South Africa, Tower of Terror, or as it was originally known, the Shaft of Terror, opened in 2001. Due to poor design, it offered the most G-forces on any roller coaster in the world, leaving it to become standing but not operating, and later having to be almost completely rebuilt. Johannesburg is the largest city in South Africa. The City of Gold was founded in September 1886 after the world's largest gold deposit was discovered. Gold was the backbone of the city's growth and brought people into the area from all over the world, quickly expanding the population. It is only fitting then that Gold Reef City Amusement Park will be located on a real, old gold mine. Located in the Ormond district of Johannesburg, Gold Reef City occupies a 30-acre site of a former 19th century gold mine. It was however founded by two hard-working brothers with somewhat questionable morals, Abe and Solly Croc. In 1948, after the National Party gained power in South Africa, the all-white government immediately began enforcing existing policies of racial segregation. Non-white South Africans, which were the majority of the population, would be forced to live in separate areas, use separate public facilities, and have limited contact between races. This would remain in effect for the best part of 50 years.
There have been some changes. In Johannesburg, for instance, blacks may now share a park bench with whites. They may visit some white theatres, libraries, hotels and restaurants. Some white jobs too can go to black men.
It was during this time that the identical twin brothers would begin to make their fortune by selling skin lightening creams to the black community. The products became so popular that by the late 1960s, it was the fourth most commonly used household product after soap, tea, and powdered milk.
I've heard that in the South Africa of today, you can be classified as colored simply by looking colored. Is this, in point of fact, true?
While not the first people to make or sell the products, the Croc brothers would become millionaires from their products and sales. They implied that their products helped those who needed them to get rid of the difficulties and segregation that was forced upon them. Others saw it as exploiting the situation. By the 1980s, the harmful effects of the products became apparent, and the Croc brothers were looking for a new way to invest their money. The answer would be in entertainment.
Visitors to Shaft 14 are taken 226 meters underground to get a feel of what it must have been like to work down a gold mine.
In 1987, the brothers would create a mine tour at the site of the Crown's Mines Shaft number 14, which had been in operation from 1887 until its closure 84 years later in 1971. They would bring in Ben Shute, a travelling showman, to help, and this would give him a permanent location to operate his rides and attractions when they were not travelling. Gold Reef City would aim to reflect the history of the discovery of gold and the style of life to those who worked in the mines, offering escorted underground tours down shaft number 14, showing mining techniques and the pouring of gold.
One of the biggest attractions of the theme park are the Gold Reef City International Tribal Dances.
Within the park's first decade, it would offer a variety of entertainment other than the mining tour. This included a fairground, circus, tribal dancing, and much more. With the end of apartheid in the early 90s, it suddenly opened the park to a much larger market. Before this, the park mostly catered to a local audience, but with the new changes, it would bring in tourists from around the world. The park operated one major roller coaster, which had moved to the park in 1989. Previously located at Carowinds as White Lightning, the Schwarzkopf shuttle coaster would find its new home at Gold Reef City as the Golden Loop. To appeal to a broader audience, more larger frills were added. In 1999, the largest roller coaster in Africa was one of those additions. It was named Anaconda, built by Swiss company B&M. Well, it may as well have been at least. It was actually built by the company Giovanola, a manufacturing company who began by building bridges, heavy machinery, and submarines before supplying rides to Intamin in the 1980s. As a subcontractor for Intamin, they had worked on Shockwave, which were stand-up coasters located at Drayton Manor and Six Flags Magic Mountain, along with the Z-Force, which had operated at multiple Six Flags parks.
The Force is here. The ultimate force. The world's first and only Z-Coaster.
You may recognise those Intamin tracks looking very much like B&M track. Gio Venola fabricated the track for these rides, and among the company's workers was Walter Bollinger and Claude Mabillard. After leaving to create Bollinger and Mabillard, the duo continued to use the now iconic track design, and both Gio Venola and B&M use very similar tracks. And the first of these, which was built directly by Gio Venola, not subcontracted, would be Anaconda at Gold Reef City in 1999, a 2,500 foot long inverted roller coaster designed by Ben Shute. The ride was similar to Batman the Ride from B&M, but a lot more intense, heading over rockwork and water. After the second vertical loop, the ride would go into a helix, followed by back-to-back corkscrews. Gio Venola would build 2 more coasters, with Goliath at Six Flags Magic Mountain and Titan at Six Flags Over Texas, before the company would file for bankruptcy in 2001. Anaconda was a huge hit, and drew massive crowd increases to the mining-themed park. While a success, the two brothers who opened the park had a new venture to make money: gambling. In 1995, when the South African government set up a process for granting casino licenses, the gambling board stipulated that bidders should demonstrate how they would attract tourism and grow the economy. The bid from Gold Reef City Casino promised to open an apartheid museum to document the South African history in exchange for their license. In 2001, both the Gold Reef Casino and the 10 million add-on apartheid museum opened. As for the theme park, it would get 2 new additions: a giant Ferris wheel and a new roller coaster. A ride that would have the highest G-forces on any roller coaster in the world: the mining-themed, extremely forceful Shaft of Terror. While it was originally planned to be called the Shaft of Terror, for reasons completely unknown to me, they decided to change the name, and it was officially known as Tower of Terror. The ride would be a Mine Diver style roller coaster, designed by Nauta Busink. This company is known for their many giant Ferris wheels around the world, including the one that would open at the same year at Gold Reef City. The roller coaster was built using local companies, at least according to some reports in 2001. However, Ronald Busink had been quoted as stating it was Gio Venola who had manufactured the ride. While nothing like the B&M track of the other rides, if true, they would have been working on this around the same time as they were working on Titan, which after completion in April 2001 was when they filed for bankruptcy protection. Coaster News at the time stated it indeed was a Gio Venola dive machine called Shaft of Terror, a smaller ride than Oblivion themed around a disused mine. Gio Venola stated they did not work on this ride. This, however, is likely to be because they did not want to be associated with it due to the large amount of technical issues the ride would have. Inspired by Oblivion at Alton Towers, the experience would begin with a lift hill up the lift tower at a 45-degree angle. At the top, the train would stop on the edge at the highest point before being released a few seconds later down the 164-foot drop, reaching speeds of 59 miles per hour. The drop, which is 90 degrees, also has a twist in it to the right, creating a bigger sense of fear as you head into the unknown, with a 49-foot deep tunnel. Passengers see the track truly disappear in front of them, increasing the terror, hence the name. When pulling out of this tunnel, it was estimated to have 4 Gs of force on riders when the ride was being designed. This was vastly underestimated, and due to the sharp pullout, it actually produced 6.3 Gs of force, the highest on any roller coaster in the world. The extreme nature of the ride was also increased by the fact that riders had more freedom, with the train only having lap bars. This was later modified and over-the-shoulder seat belts were added. After the twisted drop, the train returns back to the station. Each train would fit 4 riders per row in 2 rows and also be themed to minecarts, making it hard to see what was coming ahead. As for the theming, it would fit in with the rest of the park's rich history of gold mining. An actual winding shaft from a mine was relocated to the park from around 3 miles away and used for the structure of the first drop. The ride's track was welded onto the steel of the structure so that riders would plunge straight down through the center. The ride actually was really intense. Being surrounded by the mine shaft and the amount of force after the drop really did put the name Terror into the ride. Officially opening in December 2001, the ride was plagued with technical issues from not just the poor design but also the troubled construction and spent most of its time not operating. Those who did get to ride it found it very thrilling, and a far shot from the smooth experience Oblivion offered at Alton Towers. Unlike Oblivion, the first vertical drop roller coaster, which had an 87 degrees drop, this one actually was 90 degrees, making it the first true vertical drop roller coaster. While the Shaft of Terror was extreme, in 2005 it was closed due to the huge amount of downtime due to the technical issues. It would remain standing but not operating for 2 years, when it would receive a huge refurbishment. The mixture of downtime and high G-forces meant things would have to change. The mine train style cars would be replaced with new open style seating trains provided by SAT Rides of Germany, now with overhead restraints. Along with this, the whole lift hill section of the ride would be removed, and in its place, the new Shaft of Terror would have a vertical lift to reach the top of the drop. This addition was done by 2 local suppliers of lift winding equipment, adding even more mining authenticity to the ride. As a result of these changes, it offered more stable uptime, increased throughput, which is reportedly 160 riders per hour, up from the previous 80. And while it was originally designed for 2 trains, the ride speed was so high it just didn't work. According to the project manager of the refurbished ride, one of the biggest challenges for the refresh was to keep the ride within acceptable force limits. He states the ride had drastically lower levels, now reaching close to 4G in the tunnel. The refresh also brought increased safety measures, with an improved control system so that the car was safely locked into place at the top of the tower before the latch was released. Which brings me to the question of, was the car not safely latched at the top before? Who knows? Tower of Terror, or the Shaft of Terror, has been open since 2007 in its refreshed version. This new version reduces the forces, the overhead shoulder restraints increase the roughness, and it is no longer as extreme as it once was. With no lap bars only, hidden track in front, and now no longer hanging riders over the top as it did when it opened. The Kroc brothers would go on to become some of the wealthiest men in South Africa, owning a casino empire, theme parks and water parks, among many others, though perhaps most importantly would be South Africa's only apartheid museum. While reported as being built only to gain the casino license, Solly Kroc stated it is in fact the most important aspect of the whole complex. The identical twins would also go on to fund huge donations to education institutions and schools around the world, as well as bringing huge amounts of tourism from around the world to the Gold Reef Park and Casino. Nobody can deny their troubled past, but the brothers had moved on from this controversial start to become something completely different. For a time, the Shaft of Terror was a mysterious, unknown, and somewhat legendary roller coaster in its themes, forces, and experience. It is still listed as the highest G-force on any roller coaster in the world, even though it really no longer is. Much remains unknown about the ride's past, but today it still offers a thrilling experience in Johannesburg. It is just a little bit of a less forceful Shaft of Terror. Thank you so much for watching this episode of Expedition Theme Park. If you enjoyed it, make sure you subscribe to join the expedition, and follow us on Twitter and Instagram for updates on upcoming episodes. A special thank you to our Patreons for supporting the channel. Take a look if you would like to take part in our exclusive Q&A video coming soon. We will see you next time.